Manual. This is
Can you hear me? I can't hear you.
How are you doing?
Oh, hi, Vivian. How are you doing?
I'm okay.
Is anybody else here with us?
There's a lot of folks here, but they're not live. See, I see your hair is so beautiful. I'm just now getting gray, and I love it.
I
I'm
was
loving
just
it.
saying how my hair is a mess. I have to do it.
I'm loving the little gray pieces that's coming
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, hey, let me tell you something. You gotta go with it. You gotta go with it, because otherwise it's just murder.
So you know what? I kept on dyeing it, right? And then I would dye it today, and like 2 days later, I see it. So I'm like, what's the point?
Exactly. It's murder. It's
So
just crazy.
I stopped.
I was graying when I was like 15 or something.
Really? Wow.
Early grayer. Mm-hmm.
I love it. It looks good.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hi, Nick.
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
Trying to keep up with the going on.
Trying to keep up with what?
With all everything's going on. There's a lot of activity in this CB9.
Oh, yeah. Always been.
Well, this is my first year there. I'm just still in the learning stage. So, well, I've watched from the year before, like a member of the community, but being part of the board is a different level.
Yeah, it is, right? You get to see all the inside stuff.
Yes, exactly.
Hello.
So you like it so far?
Yeah, I like it so far.
Good.
Yeah, so because I really got started in attending the meeting right before Pearl Smile left.
Really?
So, I've been sitting there in the audience for a while. So, and I was supposed to get on the board the following year, but I missed the deadline, but I finally got on this year.
Okay.
So I've been up and down, so I've gotten to know the different, what's the word, constituencies, how this thing is working. So right now being on board, you get really together, really a good idea how this thing is working. Because a lot of stuff, if you sit in the community, it seems not too much sense to you. But now you could see with how things are gone.
Yeah.
So hopefully I'll be there for a while. So
yeah, you should, because it's good things that you're doing. At least you have an interest in where you live and you want to see it improve, or so that's a good way to start.
Yeah, I'm always been a community person. As a matter of fact, I spend most of my time in this district in my professional life. So even though I moved away from Brooklyn, but I came back because I taught for 21 years at Prospect Heights High School. Are you a Prospect Heights graduate?
No.
Okay.
My siblings went to Prospect Heights. I didn't.
What year?
What year did they go? I'm not sure.
Okay, because I was there from 85 to about almost 2000. Yeah, 85 to almost 2000.
Well,
So,
it wouldn't be in that, it wouldn't be there because, no, they probably already graduated. Hi, Debbie.
Oh, oh, okay. Mhm.
How are you doing? You're making me hungry. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Mike, put on your mic. I can't hear you. You're mute. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Say that they incur. It's become
Okay, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I had me worried there was a delay. I was like, oh, okay. Got to figure out the mic thing. All right. I see 7:07. We're just going to give about another 3 minutes just to allow people to come on, but I think we have a good number of people to start with. So about another 3 minutes, and we're going to call the meeting to order. Okay, I see the time is now 7:10. We're going to begin the meeting right now. Alejandro, are you ready to take minutes? Okay. Calling the meeting to order now. The time is now 7:10. I want to welcome everyone to the Executive Committee meeting for the month of February 2021. Very briefly, I just want to thank everyone for coming this evening. I hope everyone is safe. I hope everyone is well. I think it's only appropriate. I do want to start the meeting recognizing that CB9 has suffered a loss, where from our understanding, we're still getting additional information. It seems that one of our members, Robert Mitchell, may have passed away. So we are still getting additional information with regards to his passing. But I did want to take a moment for us as an executive committee to recognize a moment of silence at the end. Thank you, everyone. Okay, all right, so we're going to dive right into our agenda. So the first item I have is the committee chair check-ins. Let's see, going around. Alejandra, in no particular order. Alejandra, care to give, do you have a housing committee report you'd like to give?
Yes. So in terms of the housing committee, when we met, we mostly discussed the closure of the Associated. And there's a general consensus that we recommend a resolution for the full board to consider, calling for the elected officials to do whatever they can to stop the closure and to condemn the closure of the Associated.
Okay. All right. Did you already take a vote on that, or that's something you're planning for next month?
Oh no, for it would be timely now to bring it to the full board next week.
Okay, all right. If you send the language for the resolution, for the vote then.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that should be all to do that. Yeah. All right. Okay, got that. Is there anything else you have for housing?
The other thing is 960 Franklin. We wanted to have a ample time to communicate when our meeting would be to discuss the housing impact of the certification. But I was standing by to wait to hear from the other committees, ULURP and Environmental, and any others that are reviewing any particular portion. So I don't know if there's going to be a schedule set up or how it's going to be communicated so that we make sure that everybody knows when each committee will handle each particular portion, unless we're just going to do, regular meetings at the beginning of the month.
Okay. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm pretty sure our ULURP chair may speak on that a little bit during her report, and I have a couple of comments with regards to that when I get to the chairman's report.
Okay.
But absolutely. Okay. Are there any questions for the housing chair? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much, Alejandra. If we can go to economic development.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Nice to see everyone. I'm going to actually piggyback on Alejandra's remarks about the associated meeting, and I want to commend Alicia for the rally outside the supermarket 2 weeks ago. It was a very, very nice turnout, and everyone spoke, and I thought that was very nicely organized. I was there, and I think we just need to do more. We just have to keep pushing. This is how we're going to get things done. I mean, I thought that there should have been more people out there. I mean, this is where we shop. This is what we need to remain, where it is presently. And, but, I always look at things in a positive way and hope that, we can move forward and do bigger things. And I hope that the outcome, of Associated will be, in the best interest of everyone that's residing in the community. So hopefully, we can, at the end, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. For my Economic Development Committee meeting, which was on the 8th, again, attendance was poorly attended. So there was two other people besides myself. There was one candidate who is running in the 40th district for council member. His name is Edwin Raymond. I believe that he was also at the rally for the Associated Supermarket. So he spoke about himself, and I invited him to, join us at the general membership meeting, general meeting on the 26th, I believe. So he did say, yeah, he did say that he would, he would be in attendance. So again, his name is Edwin Raymond. Anything else that I need to put out there? I believe that that's it for now. We are working on some things in the committee, but as I said, with the attendance of people not being there, I mean, it's difficult for me to make a decision because I hate being the only one to, come up with an idea and have to make my own decisions. I think when you have a committee, it's, everybody should be involved. So hopefully at the next meeting, we can finalize some of these projects. And that's all I have for tonight.
Debbie, let me say one thing. At the meeting last week,
Yeah,
I made a suggestion that we have all the information from the residents in Brooklyn in our district. So we need to send out a letter because not everyone follow up with their emails or they're on the internet. So I was referred to you. I didn't get a chance to send you an email, but I'm so glad that you brought that up because
so you were referred to me? I'm sorry.
To the treasurer. I have to speak to the treasurer because the treasurer is who's handling the budget, and that's who's going to make the decision on if we have enough funds to do a mailing from the community board.
Okay. Okay, so go ahead. I'll just, listen.
Well, that's basically what it was.
Okay, because I find that rather interesting because otherwise, decisions are made without me. So, I mean, I find that rather interesting. So.
Right. Well, just to correct that, it's not a matter of the decision is going to be made by you, but I think there was a request for mailings to go. But we were looking to see if you had any insight with regards to the budget in terms of if there's any place in the budget to actually handle the mailing. But that's something I think. Are you doing your treasurer's report this month?
Say that again.
Are you doing your treasurer's report this month?
Yes.
Okay, so that'll probably be one of the questions in terms of if there's any surplus or if there's any spending that we haven't done, in case there's any money that might be available for certain activities.
Okay, so yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
All right, so I'm sure that there's funding there. We haven't been doing a whole lot, so I don't know, what. But anyway,
if there is funding, that would be something that we definitely should look into. Actually using the money that we have in the community board to actually reach out to the community.
Right.
So yeah, I think that would be great.
Okay. I believe Alicia has her hand up.
Yeah, you muted Ms. Boyd.
But we too had some concerns about the budget and the fact that already almost now 8 months have went by and we have not spent the large chunk of money that's put aside for a district manager. And we know that 50,000 of that money can be put into other things. And we wanted to find out what is the community board doing about that large chunk of money, because every year we seem to send that money back if we don't spend it. And so like, I'm always sitting on committees, and every time a committee wants to do something, there was always, oh, well, we don't have any money. Oh, you got to talk about the budget. Oh, and then a whole patch of money goes back. So I would like to see that at least the money gets spread to some of the committees for some of the activities instead of that money going back. But we can't see that until we have a budget. So I would look forward to seeing that budget on Tuesday.
Fred, well, it's my understanding, like, the money's it's very strict. You can't just take money and just give it to different committees.
Oh,
That-
yeah,
that
yes,
money,
you
that-
can.
Yeah, that money,
Pat,
yeah.
Pat, so you can take your personnel fund up to $50,000 and put it into non-personal expenditures, Pat. I know this because I've done my research and I've had problems with the board before, so you can.
But let me be clear,
That's not what
and
I'm
this is
saying.
something.
That's not
No.
what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that, you know, when we do certain things like, let's just say we want to do some posters for, let's say, my committee. I don't think you're able to do that. It's really strict guidelines on how you can use the money.
I agree, Pat, there are
Hold on.
guidelines.
Okay, Ms. Boyd, please, just to make sure that we're all clear. Please let me recognize you because we need to make sure we're moving. And actually, we do need to move on from this conversation. The only thing I will say is this. Ms. Moses is correct in terms of there are certain ways in which we can spend the money. But before we talk about spending the money, I think that it's important for the treasurer to do her work because some of the money was actually removed from the budget because we were asked to do budgets were slashed all across the city with regards to community boards. And budgets were being slashed from this fiscal year and some from next fiscal year as well. The conversation we had with Office of Management and Budget, because we have surplus, we were able to use some of that money to offset the budget cuts. With that being said, I think it's important for the treasurer to be able to do her work to see the impact, to see what's left in the budgets. And from that point, we see what's there. And along with the district manager, we'll be able to have a conversation with the assistant district manager, we'll be able to have a conversation in terms of what we may potentially be able to do things with and what the priorities are going to be. But that'll be a conversation that happens after the treasurer's had an opportunity to do her review. All right, then. So Debbie, so are you concluded with your economic development report?
I'm sorry?
So you concluded, Debbie?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, some things that we need to, you know, follow up on. I'm just listening, you know, as you guys go by, but yeah, there will be a report, you know, for the general meeting.
Okay, thank you very much, Debbie, appreciate it.
Mhm.
All right, education, I see you.
Yes, what am I doing, Chair? Just update or report?
Oh, yes, just an update if you have one.
Yeah, nothing major. We had a small event 2 weeks ago. We had a small event 2 weeks ago, a book giveaway in front of the CB9 office. I think that was pretty successful, mostly the hard work of committee member Dimitri Farrow. I think she did an amazing job. It is something that we plan to do periodically as an education committee. So I haven't decided on a timeline yet, but perhaps quarterly. So more regular community book giveaways. So I think that's a I think a neat small initiative. Other initiatives are underway, and including something working with the schools on a more casual event, a spelling bee. There's work being done around the specialized high school admission test. That test took place recently, but actually it got delayed actually because of the weather or COVID, I think. But we're planning information sessions for families in the community to find out more about it and how they can prepare their kids for it. And then some additional room on the calendar to do some more. So I think the committee is functional, perhaps not as productive as we want it to be, but I think we're happy to be back as an education committee, and so more to come. I think we're in pretty good shape. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I think you're being too modest. First of all, I do want to congratulate you on the committee for the book giveaway. Thank you. I just really appreciate that. I think it's something that's necessary. I think it's great. And I want to thank you for all of your hard work. And I've seen the emails going back and forth. I've seen the deliberation and the work that's gone into it. So I just want to say kudos to you and your committee for the hard work and the successful.
Thank you, Chair. Look, and kudos to the group. It's actually a really engaged committee. They show up for meetings, and so it's been actually quite enjoyable. So thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any questions for the Education Chair? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. If we could have Madam Second Vice Chair, do you have a report for Health and Social Services? So Fran, are you there?
I'm so sorry, I'm talking and I'm muted, I'm sorry.
No worries.
Sorry. We met on February 4th. I think that most of you would have seen the flyer that was sent out by Kingsbrook Hospital for the free COVID tests. And apparently when it went out, they didn't really have a system in place really. And so it didn't go as planned, but they're planning another one. So many people turn up. So people who really were not eligible, that did turn up as well because they didn't have a system in place. So I'll have information pertaining to that also. I'm working close with Dr. Katz at, from H&H, Health and Hospitals. So what we are looking at, there are several seniors in our area. Some of them, I know Carmen have been very instrumental in going around in the community and taking seniors to some of the hospitals in the community to get the COVID test. And she's been working very closely with the 71st precinct. So, but some we have seniors who are not able to leave their homes. So we are looking to take the vaccine to them. You know, so some of the apartment buildings will be working with them, and then they will set up in the lobby. So we'll find out as to how many wants the vaccine and set up in the lobby so that they could come downstairs, and then the vaccine will be administered to them. And also those who still wants to go out, then we'll still be working in together with the 71st precinct so that they could transfer them to the various places. We have now, our committee have now collaborated with Kings County Hospital, and we have already scheduled for the year for 2021. So for February we had, although it didn't come off because by the time for the scheduling, we wouldn't have enough time, but we will be introducing it anyway, racial equity in healthcare. So that will be in March. And then we have oral health and COVID. We have, and in April, we'll be doing joint health replacement. We'll be in May, we're doing coping with mental health during COVID-19. In June, we're doing men's health. July, we're doing obesity and COVID-19. In August, we're doing family planning and breastfeeding. September, we're doing sickle cell. October, we're doing breast cancer. November, we're doing diabetes. And December, we'll be doing the flu vaccine and HIV/AIDS. And some of those presentation, we will, just as we had Dr. Quill coming in to give a short talk. So we'll also have some presentation, but some of the topics, because of the tax agenda we have at the general board meeting, so I will be using my platform, which is the first Thursday of every month, to do the presentation. So we'll have a flyer sent out to the community so they know the date and time, so that they could invite their friends and then they could come in for the presentation. Anybody who have questions or anything, you know, so we have more time, you know, for, you know, so the presenters can do the presentation and the community could ask questions and everything like this. Also, we have Adele Plateau. She's very much interested in doing a nutrition and health presentation. And Enid from Kingsbrook Jewish Hospital would like to do a healthy cooking night as well. So maybe we might do both the same time. We're still working as to how we'll work with that. And then we would like to link up with the youth department, because Ms. Blair of Kings County Hospital, she would also like to do raise an awareness for sex trafficking in the community. And then we have it, and it's mainly affect the Black and Latino youth in our community. So it was suggested that we should join with the youth committee so that we can work together and make this happen. And then we had Mr. Burke, our first vice chair, who gave us a rundown as to whatever is happening at when it comes to the shipment and then the distribution of the COVID vaccine at Kings County Hospital. So for the year, we already have a schedule for the whole year. And then as we implement them and we have everything ready, then we'll be sending out all the information to the community, and then they will know exactly what's happening. We'll keep the community abreast as to, we'll send out early notice so everybody could, schedule themselves so that they could come on board and get all the information that is needed.
Air Force One there. So we'll let you know as the president disembarks and heads over to our town hall. This comes as former President Trump is facing his first lawsuit related.
So Warren, did you have anything you wanted to add, or we're good with that report for now and you'll advise later?
No, the only thing I wanted to add is I saw the statistics today for the vaccinations in Central Brooklyn, and they're really below like 4 or 5% versus 10% for the city. I don't understand it at this point because I can only speak for Kings, and I know we're busy every minute of the day. I do know that there were 2 super centers set out, one in Sunset Park and one in East New York. But I have to find out more because these numbers just came out today and they're obviously not satisfactory. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Are there any questions for the Health and Social Services Chair? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much, Fran. Appreciate it. Primo, do you have a report for youth services?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Good to see you. Youth Services Committee is responding to what the young people asked for in our first Youth Speak Out, and their request was for more financial literacy information. Obviously an important year for the youth to learn about how to manage your finances, and for many families in New York City and across the country. And so we are putting together a financial literacy event, a quasi kind of jobs fair, quasi career panel on, can somebody mute the 347 number or not? It doesn't matter. Anyway, a jobs panel, and that will happen on April 6th from 5 to 7:30. So that is our next upcoming event. We're looking to engage somebody who can work on resumes with the students, and somebody who can speak to financial literacy. And so we're organizing that event. We'll put together a flyer. We'll share the kind of promotional events, and we'll hope to engage about 50 people in the meeting. So that's what we're working towards. Thanks, Fred. Participation has been really strong in our committee. People have been showing up and putting in work.
Phenomenal. Thank you so much. Are there any questions for the Youth Services Chair? Okay, seeing none, Primo, thank you so much, and thank you, committee, for all the hard work you're doing. Listen, as you're getting closer to your events as well, if you have a list of, if you have budgets, if you have resources that you need, if you get that list to the office and to the executive committee, we can try and see, where the resources exist, or if there's anything that we can actually do in terms of supporting that as well, or help you in terms of getting stuff done. Okay. All right, Carmen, you have a report for transportation?
Hi, yes, good evening. And I'm going to apologize in advance because I'm going to have to jump off after I give my report. I'm in transit and don't want to stay on the phone or be on the phone. First, I want to clarify the information that Francesca gave with regards to what I'm doing with the seniors. I am actually working in partnership with 1PP. I'm not working with the 71st Precinct. I'm working with Community Affairs, Chief Madry at One Police Plaza, Kings County Hospital, Interfaith Medical Center, and Brookdale Hospital. And for the past month, we started last month, we have been transporting seniors from different senior citizens developments to the hospital to get their vaccine. Today, we started their second dose. So I'm happy to report we've done over 500 seniors, and we hope to do 1,000 by the end of this month. With regard to the Transportation Committee, we had our meeting on the 3rd. We got our update about the Empire Reconstruction Project. We are still up in the air with regard to the Clove Road project because they promised that they were doing 2 community workshops, one in January and one in February. They have not put that together. So we don't know exactly when they're gonna do the workshop. There's issues with homeowners on Malbone Street and the plaza that they're planning to do on Clove Road because apparently it's going to infringe on their some private parking spots that abuts Clove Road. So we're trying to get a resolution to that, but DOT in their special way keeps tap dancing around that subject. So we still don't know exactly what it is that they're gonna, the final plan for Clove Road. Working, of course, with the developer for that building that's being built there on Montgomery and Nostrand Avenue. We did have a presentation. Oh, and our liaison is no longer our liaison. Emily is not going to be our liaison. We have a new liaison that I guess we'll be meeting on our next meeting in March. We had a presentation from Unis. It's a bicycle parking hub. They have a station at Barclays Center, and they are looking for the board to put forward a resolution. I guess their efforts to plan this bicycle parking hubs in different neighborhood, and particularly in some area in Community Board 9. So the committee did vote. We did vote to have them come before the general board, because as we explained to them, they will have to present before the general board, and the general board has to vote on whether or not they're going to put forth a resolution to support their effort. So I am asking that they be placed on the agenda for their presentation on the bicycle hubs for Unis. And I believe Mia has all of the information in terms of the contact in the company itself. So that's one item from the Transportation Committee for the general meeting. And that basically is my report.
Okay. First, I do have a question. So now with Uni, did the Transportation Committee actually take a position on it? Did they approve? Did they not approve? Or what came out of the committee?
We didn't. We approved. We voted on recommending that they come. We voted to approve for them to come before the board to do their presentation in order to get their resolution. We as a committee, we approve that, we like their project. Of course, we have a lot of people on the committee that are cyclists, so they like, they're all for it. So we approve their presentation, and also to recommend that the board listen to their presentation and give them the resolution that they seek. So that was a unanimous vote from the committee.
So the committee was in favor?
Yes.
Okay. All right, are there any questions for the transportation chair?
I don't have a question. I just want to apologize.
Hmm?
I said I don't have a question, just to apologize for the information.
Oh, no, honey, no apology. I know, you know, the 71st serves us, but we're working with 1 PP.
Okay. All right, all right, I don't see any of the questions for the transportation committee, but I do see, okay, so you do have the one action item, have them on the agenda.
Yes.
Okay, I think we're good otherwise then. So, Carmen, thank you very much. Take care, travel safe.
Thank you. Good night, everybody. Sorry.
No problem.
Good night,
Carmen.
All right, environmental protection, Warren, you have a report for environmental protection?
Yes, I do. We had our first, we had our first meeting last week. And we're collecting information in turn 960 Franklin Avenue. That's our priority at this point. I know that the board office has sent out a questionnaire. We've gotten 3 or 4 responses. And based on those questions, we'll try to seek answers. Actually, an email went out today. Secondly, I know that the developer is making a presentation, and we'll see what he has to say. But I think we'll be fully available to complete within the complete date of what's going on with 960 Franklin Avenue. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Are there any questions for the Environmental Protection Committee? Alicia, I see you. Hold on. Go ahead, you're gonna mute yourself.
I was under the impression that the questions were going straight to the developer, not being interceded into, you know, by a third party. Now that this is what's happening, like now the environmental committee chair is now taking the questions and then deciding which ones. I mean, I'm a little confused about that because it's my understanding.
Okay, Alicia, I can answer that.
Excuse me, I'm not finished.
No, I'll answer.
I'm not finished. I'm not finished. Let me finish, please. Because it's my understanding that the questions are supposed to be submitted to the community board, and this community board is supposed to submit them to the developer.
Correct.
Now I'm hearing that they're coming in and that maybe they're not going, maybe they are going. Because what I would not like to see is the developer come next Tuesday or Wednesday and say, oh, well, I didn't get that question. Even though we know people have submitted questions.
The questionnaires have been developed by the board office and they're being distributed by the board office. Warren was just acknowledging the fact that the questionnaire was developed. They're not administering it. It's all coming through the board office. And once the responses are there, the board office will relay all those questions to the developer for inclusion in the presentation.
Okay, and also, have you gotten anything back about the declaration page, the restrictive declaration page?
Not yet. Mia did submit to both the developer and to DCP any remaining documentation that we discussed in all the other committee meetings. So that request is actually out right now and they're processing that. So in terms of what they have and what they don't have. So we should be getting responses shortly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, I think that's all we have for our environmental section. You know, why delay it any further? Ms. Moses, are you on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, I think they're waiting for you to do your thing.
Yeah, I'm always last, huh? Okay. So the ULUP committee, well, first of all, good evening, everybody. The ULUP committee met on February 9th, and our minutes have been submitted to the community board office so that, you know, everyone can review, so I don't have to go over every single item. As far as the 960 project, they were certified on February the 1st, and our countdown time started on February 11th. Therefore, we scheduled a presentation for the 960 project. And I'm quite sure that hopefully everybody has gotten that information. It's going to be on Wednesday, February the 24th at 7 p.m. Now the questions are going to go into our community board office so that it can be sent to the developer so that those questions. But I would also like a copy of that because we don't want to send 3 of the same questions in. You know, if somebody's asking the same question, you don't need to have 3 of them. You know, you could say 3 community members or whatever. So I'd like to see how that's going to work. So hopefully everything is supposed just to go in through the office and we through the ULUP, not separate committees. Hopefully at that, another thing I want to say that everybody basically, I shouldn't say everybody, but I know that materials was sent out to board members for review. And to me, you know, before we even do the presentation, it would appear to me that people would read it and review it. And that way you can pull your own sections out and kind of have in your head as to what it is that you want to present or which questions you want to ask is what I'm saying. So this is not something where we haven't read materials. I also wanted to say that we're also projecting our public hearing. We want to schedule it for March the 18th. And that's very important that we have to have at least 20% of the board members there, or else it just does not going to count. And then we wanted to take a vote on March the 23rd. And let me just explain why. When you start, well, first of all, we have 60 days from certification. And when you start getting into April, then you start getting into Easter, Jewish holidays. So we wanted to kind of, you know, see if we can close this out at least by March 23rd. Okay, and then the second thing that was on our agenda, and listen, I want to tell everybody, for more detail of what we spoke about, because it's a lot, please just read the minutes and then you'll get a full understanding of what's going on. As far as the other chairs are concerned, we have invited you to our meetings, and I hope that you show up for the presentation for 960. That way you can kind of get your little parts out and listen to what is being said, so that you can take that back to your meetings and speak on it. So that when we meet as a whole, you know, that I would say like housing would basically, as far as I'm concerned, would have a lot of input and other committees that, you know, that are, not economic, environmental. Right. So those are the two that really, everybody needs to pay attention, but those are the ones that really should be reading certain materials so that we don't all have to read it. And I mean, we all gonna read, but we all have to study it as you would. Now, I want to say that was also a motion was passed. A motion was passed for the full board to review bill number 2186. That's the City Council Comprehensive Plan. They wanted to vote on the course of action to be taken. So I'm not sure exactly, but I'm not sure exactly, we wanted to do, I don't know if we can do the vote at your meeting because that's like when, next week? Fred?
I'm not exactly clear. I mean, in terms of what we're looking to do. If it's a vote, it might be a little bit soon. I'm not sure if we have the information or have the conversation necessary.
Well,
we have a number of other items.
Yeah, well, in other words, I mean, I know the material was sent out to us some time ago, but I don't really know what the full board's position is, you know? And I think that to review it. I think we got a timeline to get something in. And I don't know, Alicia, I think you said it was a timeline or something?
Yes, they're putting the vote, they're putting this tomorrow, next week is they're having a hearing at a committee, at the governmental hearing committee, and then it's going to be put to a vote by mid-April. So if we're going to in any way have any impact on that bill or have any say over that bill, then you have to bring it to the board on Tuesday. That's what the motion was. The motion was to bring it to the board on Tuesday, and that motion passed.
Yes.
So the motion is put to the community board on Tuesday. There could be a discussion. If you guys want to have a discussion, somebody could do a presentation if somebody wants to do a presentation, but the motion was put on the floor. It passed, that it goes to the full board for a discussion so the full board can make a decision on this bill.
Okay, so.
Is that gonna happen? Because a motion is a motion and it didn't get passed. So we expect for it to.
Right. No, and it passed the committee. I mean, I'm trying, that's why I'm
Right.
trying to understand exactly what the ask is for the full board to do.
The
And that's
full
part of the
board
reason
is to
why
sit
it comes
there,
up.
the full, to take a position on the bill. Let somebody do a
Right.
presentation, a short presentation on the bill, and then let folks comment on the bill and let people read the bill. I mean, this is a community board. This is what you're supposed to do. This plan is gonna affect everybody and it's gonna affect us in particular because we're gonna be targeted for this plan. Because everything that they want to develop is in our community. We're next to parks, we're next to transit. I mean, and that's what they said that they're going to develop. So.
Okay, all right. So let's let the chair finish her report.
Yeah,
and then we'll-
okay,
we'll
what I was,
discuss.
yeah, because what we're looking at is exactly what plan is going to be put forth to the community board. We have to have a position. So we know what the plan is. Well, I don't know when they're going to vote on it, but we know what they are. We need to have in our heads a position on which we're going to take. So I'm going to reread it again. I mean, we did have a speaker that came in and helped us out a little bit at the ULUP committee, and what the professor name was, what's his name?
His name was Professor Angadi. And if it could be helpful, right, if it could be helpful, I could provide you with a link to his opinion page that he posted. I could also provide you with a link to my summary of the bill so that you can send it around to the board members before Tuesday, and then they could have some sense of what the bill is about, so there could be an educated discussion.
Yeah, because it's rather long. It's like about 25 pages or so.
Well, that's right. That's that glossary summary. I didn't do a summary of the glossary summary. I did a critique of the bill itself, the physical language in the bill, because that's what matters, is the law. And so I just made, a summary of the law. So if you want, I can send it to you and you can send it to the board members, and then they could have, those links and they can review it, and then there could be a discussion and then a decision, a motion put on the floor whether to support the bill or not.
Okay. Fred will make that decision, but let me just close out. Let's see.
Fred,
anything else?
All right. Fred, would you like me to send you that?
Send the links, but I think we want to discuss it a little bit too, because I think there's some questions I have. Send whatever information you do have.
Okay, so I'll send you the link to Professor Angadi's opinion page. You were there, so you heard him. Were you not there? You heard him, right?
Yeah.
I love
part of it. I think
me? No, I wasn't able to stay for his portion.
Oh, no, you got to leave, right?
Okay.
So basically, after the presentation, we'll have our regular scheduled meeting on March 9th, because we do need to pull together everything so that we will be prepared for the public hearing, which hopefully will be on March the 18th. And then I will be working with the community board. Well, I'll be working with Mia also, because there's a number of things that we definitely have to do even before we get to the public hearing. I mean, we have to post it, we have to put it in the paper, and you know, we have to send different notification, I think, out to city planning. So there's a number of things that we have to do, and I want to have it all in place so that when we at the public hearing, you know, we would be, again, we would still be taking questions from the community people also. But once, and the reason that, let me just say this and I'm gonna close out. The reason I wanted us to have a presentation is so that everybody would have at least something in, you know, in their heads and in their minds and what they want to really think about, discuss, or support before we have the hearing. You see, so it would give them a whole month to kind of research or look at whatever it is that they're going to look into. And that's about it. I just wanted Mia to, because Mia has to tell me, she put something, how they're gonna do the questions. It's on the website. Mia, are you there? I forgot how she.
No,
she's not there.
She's not here this evening.
Okay, so anyway, she put, it's on the website. And so, Alicia, did y'all get the information?
About what? I'm sorry?
The questions. You know, she put it on a.
Yeah, we did get
okay, great.
Email for requests for questions, right?
Oh, yes.
Yes, it go out. I'm going to be sending out an email to the community because I know that has to be in by Friday.
Right.
Correct.
So okay. I'm sending out something today or tomorrow at the latest.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Brad.
No, thank you. Well, hold before I let you off the hook. Are there any questions for the? Well, actually, I did see a couple in the chat. So one, I think was, and I think that, we have the answer. It's about the date for March 18th that you tentatively picked. That's clear. That date is clear, correct?
The public hearing.
So the conflicts? Yeah, for the public hearing.
I spoke to the developer. They don't have any problem. I just have to confirm it. You know, okay. For March 18th.
And along those lines, I'll check in with Mia as well, just to confirm that that's not going to be a conflict with any holidays or anything else as well. I think it's clear for now, but we'll make sure we confirm that. If we need to push the date, a couple of days forward or back, we'll work around that. And so we'll take care of that. Great.
So, but what you need to do, so if you could get back to me as soon as possible, because I would like to lock in that date with the developer. I didn't.
I'll check in with Mia tomorrow when she's in the office. Well, I'll check in.
Okay.
There was another question. Is the board of the ULURP committee leaving enough time to potentially have 2 public-facing meetings rather than just one? It's a huge topic, and one meeting is likely not going to be enough.
I'm sorry, you talking to me?
Yeah. So the question was put in the chat. I'm not sure if you did, was whether there's enough time to actually have two meetings. And let me take a stab at this first.
Well, first of all, it's not 2 meetings. One is a presentation. The presentation means that the people are going to get an overview as to what the developer is. It's mainly a listening situation. They're going to have materials and everything like that. And the questions, some of the questions are going to be submitted prior to, so that when the developer is speaking, or whoever's speaking, that they kind of know what we want as a whole. Now, we will, if we have time, we'll take questions from the floor. The public hearing, at that point, each of us would have kind of have like I said, a idea as to what is actually being presented to us. And this is where the other chairs come into play. Like, for instance, if you're talking about housing, that means that the chairperson would have kind of looked at it for us, and hopefully be at that meeting on the 9th, because there has to be something, like, we're not looking at it as closely as they are. An environmental part too.
And if I just want to throw this in as well. And part of the discussion is in terms of looking at it, since we have a number of touch points where we have a number of committees looking at this. And it's one of those things where it's like the committees do actually have the option of dedicating the committee meetings. And it might help to break it up in terms of some of the conversation where it's like, you know what, ULURP, depending on what happens at the presentation session, if they want to dedicate more time at the March ULURP, they can do that as well. So some of the topics are most likely going to be covered in the Housing Committee, in the Environmental Protection Committee, in the Parks Committee as well. So those will definitely be opportunities for the public to come in because they'll most likely be on the agenda, and people can weigh in on that at those times as well with regards to the issues before. And what I would like to see coming out of each of the committees is that there is a recommendation that comes out, probably more likely along the lines of whatever the purview of the committee is, but I think we're going to be able to tackle this in more than one way. And this gives us a number of public-facing sessions. We don't have to wait for one public hearing. We have a whole number of Community Board 9 public meetings that we have that can be converted just for that purpose. They give us a lot of ample opportunity to have that. And I leave it to the ULURP chair where, if she and the committee decide that there's really necessity to have additional, additional time, that can also be something that might be arranged as well. The other thing that I would put out there, although this is definitely not something that's fun, or I think it'll probably be a little bit more problematic, is we actually have until the beginning of April to actually submit. So we do have a little bit of time to play with, not much, and I prefer to stay away from that because logistically it gets a little bit hairy in terms of trying to get extra meetings in there, particularly when we wouldn't have our next board meeting until after the deadline. But those are the conversations that are going to be had with myself and the chairs, and we'll see how we're going to be able to proceed with this. But I think the important first steps are the presentation. Yes, go ahead.
Let me just say one thing. When I'm looking at the chairs, I'm looking at them as a subcommittee of us because we're all talking about the same subject. So they are subcommittees. So each of them have a part and might with one report out. And that's why I definitely invited them and still do to our ULURP committees. And I would definitely put them on the agenda, as a sub to speak out. I see Alicia's hand is up there. 2 hands is up there.
If I'm hearing something different. Now I'm hearing that the developers are going to come, just kind of throw information at us, and then the community is not going to have an opportunity to sit there and ask questions. The purpose of submitting the questions first was to ensure that the questions that the community wanted were going to be asked. Having the developers come in and show us all their slides and show us all their presentations and not ask them the difficult questions that need to be asked is not going to do anything for us. We don't have the information. Every committee that I have been to that I've spoken to says we don't know enough. We don't know enough. We don't know enough. So the purpose of them coming was not for them to give us what they've already given us, which is not enough, but for the community to actually ask them questions. So now I'm hearing that, no, it's just going to be one way of presentation. The community may or may not ask questions depending upon how the time, and then we're stuck with what? Again, not finding out vital pieces of information. Like, for example, and this is,
hold on a second.
Let me finish, Pat. For example, you have this 750 affordable units. Well, how many 1-bedrooms are there? How many studios are there? How many 3-bedrooms are there? What are the size of these units? Where are they going to be placed within the complex? Is it going to be in the complex? Because we know underneath the MIH, it doesn't even have to be on site. It could be outside. It could be somewhere else. Where at in the complex? Is it going to be a poor door situation where all of the affordable is in one building and all of the rich people are in another building? These are all the questions that we have to ask. Now, they're not going to answer those questions when they come with their slides and their presentations. And so if you don't give the community the opportunity to ask questions, when is that going to happen? You haven't gotten the declaration page. Let me finish. You have not gotten the declaration page. This is the page that governs this development. These are the things that bind them. You guys still haven't gotten that yet. You still haven't gotten it. And so without it, what are we talking about? A 35-story building, a 40-story building. We don't know what the parameters are. We don't know what the limits are. We don't know anything about that because the declaration page that controls it, you guys still don't have. But now we're going to have a presentation and we're not going to be able to ask the developer, where's the declaration page, sir? What are the affordable units? What is the target population that you're targeting? If we can't ask those difficult questions, we're right back where we're at right now is I don't know. I went to the housing committee. The housing committee said, and got all the papers. They have all the papers. I don't know. It's not enough. We can't make a decision. You think the environmental is going to be any different? You think the park is going to be any different? Please let this be a conversation where we get to ask the developers the hard questions.
Well, let me say something. Let me say something.
Well, actually, we do have to move on, Pat. So hold on. So let me just finish with this point, and then we're going to move on. So the idea is the presentation is the opportunity to get information. And part of the reason why is structured the way where we're asking the community what questions you have up front, just as you just did right now. You had a litany of questions that you wanted to make sure that there were answers for. So the idea is we get those questions now. We give them to the developer. So as they're preparing their presentation, they know this is the stuff that you should be talking about. And we have the opportunity to say, you know what, there's great, you included this, you included this, you included this, you skipped 5 or 6 things, and we can hold them accountable. And then there is a full public hearing scheduled for the 18th. And again, to the point where this is where we're working with all the chairs of the committees, where if there is additional information or if we need additional time in there to have engagement, we can schedule that, we can coordinate that as it goes. But that's the initial framework where we're working. We're not locked into something necessarily. Obviously, if we need to make adjustments, we will do that. But that's the initial plan in terms of how we're going to engage. Do I see any other questions for the ULURP chair?
I just want to say one thing, that Mia, she did send out a memo where she asked for those specific items, and we're going to respond to that. So.
Okay, thank you very much, Pat. Okay, and Pat, I spared you today, so you're not even the last one today. So the last one we have is the Parks and Recreation. So the Parks Committee met last week, Thursday. So I think there are a number of items that the Parks Committee is working on. One, they established a subcommittee on park alienation. So they are addressing the 960 development from that aspect of park alienation, in terms of this is taking parkland out of the this would effectively be taking parkland out of the community, and there's an entire process that goes in with that. So they're doing some investigation, and they'll probably come up with recommendations along those lines from the perspective of park alienation. Additionally, the committee did hear from BFC, the Partners for Bedford Armory. So they gave us an overview of some of the programs that they have slated for when they actually open up. So we're looking at getting some additional information from them in terms of when timeframes, when they're going to open up, as well as some of the fee structures, because I think there were some concerns with even the way the fee structures are set up. But we're going to make sure that that's a continuing conversation. And it's one of several conversations we've had with a number of the community partners. So we've already had conversations with BRIC. We had a conversation with Brooklyn Botanic Garden was there. Now we've had BFA for the Bedford Armory. The idea being that we want to make sure that we understand the programming that's being done by the community partners, especially as we're going through budget cycles. We want to make sure that we're supporting funding as necessary and making sure that programs are being done, and we can advocate for those as well. Additionally, there is a survey being done by the Prospect Park Alliance that was forwarded to CB9. So the committee is going to be reviewing the questions, and they're going to be creating answers. And once that committee votes on that, that's something that's expected to come back before the executive committee and the full board in terms of an actual statement in terms of the needs for the uses and needs for Prospect Park. So that'll be an official statement that will come from, that'll start in the committee and actually come up and hopefully end up being a statement for the board. So that's supposed to happen hopefully in the next month or so. Yeah, I think those are the big highlights. So any questions with regards to parks?
Yes, I would like to find out exactly what you mean by when you sent me an email stating that you are requesting my resignation, and I said I didn't know about resigning. Can you please explain why? And you said you sent me another email stating that I have been removed. So basically what I would like to know is why that wasn't taken to the executive committee or even the general board Why are you making this decision? I know you sent me a reference to the bylaw, but I think that needs to be addressed because it doesn't say that you could remove. It says that basically I need explanation. I need clarity on that because if you could just do that to me after I spoke to you about Warren Berg. When I spoke to you about how Warren Berg texting me and saying these disrespectful things, this is what I get. You saying that I'm terminated or removed. So I need clarity on that. Because I don't understand why that happened.
Let's be extremely clear first, because it's very problematic the way you're putting this in terms of after a complaint is launched, you were terminated. I had a conversation with you.
Excuse me, I can't hear you. No, I cannot hear you.
No, understood. Is that any better?
Yes, that's better.
Okay, I want to make sure that this conversation is not mischaracterized as you were removed as chair after a complaint levied against another board member. So let's be very clear. That is not what happened. A conversation was had between you and I regarding committee business. After the conversation, Ms. Morgan,
Mia, you got to include Mia. It was all three of us.
Oh, no, and that's fine. Yeah, Mia was there as well. So we had a conversation regarding committee questions. After the conversation with committee questions, honestly, I left the conversation without the sense of clarity that I needed and the confidence that in terms of the committee was going in the direction in which it needed to go. At which point, I requested your resignation, at which point you refused, at which point I documented it is within my authority to do so, at which point you refuted that and said, effectively, hell no, at which point
Excuse me, I did not say hell no.
No. I did not say that. I said effectively you said that I couldn't do it.
Okay, well, don't say that I said hell no. I did not use those words.
And that's fair. You know what? And I can do that. And at the same time, let's not try and characterize this where you made a complaint and you were fired. So we'll leave it at that.
That's what happened.
Now, the context of the conversation, I will leave out of respect. But
no, I want you to bring it in because I would like to know what it was.
I'm not going to. No, because
I would like for you to bring it in because obviously I'm not clear. And first of all, you're saying that I said hell no. I never
No. And you know what? And let's be clear. And I will say effectively you said that, but you know what? We'll take it off the books. You said no. At which point I reiterated my authority and
that you like to take off. I've realized that you like to say things that don't happen.
Yes.
And I think you're not following procedures and your promises that if you have a conversation with one of the chair, you should at least try to work with them. You weren't happy with the conversation that we had, but you never explained to me exactly what it was. And if you're the chair for the board, you're supposed to at least make sure that everyone have a clear understanding of what's going on. I am still in like what happened? I don't know. And I'm asking you for clarity and you're still not giving it to me.
And we've had the conversations and I told you why. And if you did not understand sorry.
You did not tell me why.
And I did.
That's why I'm asking you why.
And I did.
Can you please tell me why?
And no. And I'm not going to do this out in public. The decision has already been made.
No,
the decision has been made. It is within my authority.
No, procedures,
within my authority.
You're not following those procedures.
No. Thank you, Ms. Morgan. I do see Ms. Boyd. I see Ms. Timothy. What do you have?
I would like to say that when Tim Thomas was removed as chair, he had due process. He had went to the community, he had cursed out community board members and people at his committee, and yet he had due process. He was allowed to come before the executive board. He was allowed to bring his defenses. He was allowed to present his case. And they gave him an opportunity and they gave him a warning. And they said, okay, if you continue to do this, Tim Thomas, then you're going to be out. And then he still went ahead after it was very clear what he was doing. And he went ahead and did it again. And then he was removed. Now I'm seeing, and I saw that meeting prior to when Ms. Morgan was fired. I looked at the meeting, I didn't attend, but I went back and I saw the conflict between Warren Burke and Vivian. I saw Warren Burke be very disrespectful to her. I saw him call her names. I saw him interrupt her, and she's the chair. And he kept saying, you're not going in the direction that I want this board to go. And then the next thing we know is that Vivian is the one who's replaced. All I'm saying is that chairs should have the right to have some due process and not just be removed arbitrarily, because then that then means is that only one person then becomes in control, and that is the chairperson of the board, and the chairs have no autonomy. I don't think that that's a healthy way in which you want this community board to be run. And second, everyone should have due process. Everyone should have the right. If you're a chair and you're coming to and having a meeting, we have chairs that don't even show up. That don't even show. At least you got a chair who's been a chair for 2 years. She comes, she does the work, she has the meetings. Okay, fine. You don't like the direction, but there should be a process. It should be so that everyone knows, okay, if the chair doesn't like what I'm doing, let it be clear what it is. Steps given, boom, 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 boom. Here's what you need to do. Here's what I need for you, so that you're doing corrective action. But instead, the way that I saw it, Warren didn't like something. He's being obnoxious. He's being disrespectful. And we know Warren is very used to sending out nasty emails and nasty texts, all kinds of stuff, because I received them. Okay. Warren has had police reports done against him. Warren has had women show up and put restraining orders on him. So we know he has a history of abuse with women. And all I see now is a woman being removed because there was a conflict. That's what I see. And so that's what I'm saying. There needs to be a process.
Still not clear what happened or an explanation of why this is happening. Although he's saying, although Fred is saying that
you are
he
not
told me,
recognized.
I do not know why. I still am in the dark as to what exactly happened, why he did.
Thank you. Debbie, you had a question?
Yeah, I actually responded to that email when I saw it, and I still didn't receive clarification in terms of what transpired. I gave some suggestions as to what could have taken place, and still haven't heard anything. So me too, I'm in the dark. So I think it's in our best interest to discuss this, have a discussion, so that we are clear on what transpired and why it took place. If we are a community board, I think this is a part of our role. So, I'm still in the dark, so I need to know.
And while
I need to know, because I could be next.
And as you see, Warren and Fred, they're chairing a lot of committees, so you can see that.
Ms. Morgan, we are moving on. We are moving on. Questions have been taken. We are moving on in the agenda.
So you're not going to answer that, Fred. You're not going to clarify what she did exactly that was so wrong that that made her be removed as a chair?
It's not about, listen, it's not about wrong. It's about the direction in which the committee is moving and what I think is in the best interest of the committee and for the board. And I made my action based on that.
So what direction? What direction is that?
Thank you very much. We are moving on in the agenda.
Okay, so we understand, we all understand that Fred is in control and he's a dictator. And it's his
We are
way.
moving on. We are now moving on. So the next item on the agenda is the chairman's report. So, and actually it's probably going to be a relatively quick meeting, quick agenda, chairman's report for this month.
Next.
Actually, not necessarily, hold on. So I think we've discussed the number of items with regard to the 960 Franklin.
Who's next? Who's
Ms.
next?
Morgan. Ms. Morgan. Thank you. So with regards to 960, I think we've just already discussed a number of aspects with regards to this. So the application was certified by the City Planning Commission on February 1st. Our clock started ticking on ZAP as of February 10th. We've already talked about there's an applicant presentation that's going to schedule to happen on the 24th. We're looking at having the public hearing on the 18th of March with a tentative board vote by March 23rd. So additionally, as I said before, so we're looking at this from a multi-perspective angle. We have ULURP is working on this. We have Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs. We have housing. We have environmental protection. And I invite all chairs as well. So if there are any questions, questions in terms of your respective committees that you would like to have answered or positions you wish to take, please feel free to have those discussions and place those on your agenda. Please make sure that we're also putting those on the community board calendar so that way the community has an opportunity to respond to those as well. There were a couple of actions that were taken by a number of the committees. So we can say that we've had requested additional information from both DCP and from the applicant. So currently we're waiting for that information to come back, and that'll be shared out as we receive them. The district office had already developed a Google Form survey. So the survey for the questions is already done. That will go out. That has gone out actually. And I would encourage all to please make sure you have those go out to your networks so that way all those questions that we would like to see the presentation include information for, we can hopefully have them do it in that first shot. Obviously, not everything is going to be answered, and there'll have to be an opportunity to debate and question and make sure that we go through the information. So we're looking for opportunities. Obviously, that one big opportunity we're looking at is the 18th, but as we're having a coordination between the committees, we'll look and see what other opportunities we can create in terms of making sure we're getting feedback from the community so we can develop something for our final vote. With regards to the district manager, so we had voted with regards to hiring them. We wrote them an offer letter with the salary, and they have accepted. They've already begun the process. So they're right now submitting references, so we should have those shortly. I had a conversation with Office of Management and Budget and Borough Hall. So a number of the other activities that he'll have to do would actually come post our final vote. So once the final vote goes in, we create a personnel action request, which will go to OMB, it goes to Borough Hall, and that's in motion the chain of a number of the hiring activities have to do. So that will be something that happens post. But yeah, we're going to have that on the agenda in terms of a vote that'll happen next week, Tuesday. Last month, we had voted on a number of recommendations for removal of members due to attendance. I've had a number of conversations, and we've had a number of the people who received those letters. They have reached out, and they've explained a number of their circumstances. Some of them did have personal circumstances going on. Others have really just, admitted that they were remiss in terms of their duty. But they still said that they want to be a part of the board. And based on those conversations, they have made the commitment to say that yes, they'll be here, and they'll make sure that they're showing up. They'll be diligent about coming to committees, and they'll be diligent about coming to the board meetings as well. Taking into account those conversations, I would like to submit to the executive committee a recommendation to table the removals for the following members: Verlene Dozier, Melanie Lewis, Virginia Bechtold, Jacob Pearson, and Linda Watson-Lord. I'll entertain a motion to table those removals.
Motion, table moves as read.
Second.
I have it moved by Francisca Leopold. I have it seconded by Warren Burke. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none. I think the only comment.
I just have to ask a question because I know
Sure.
On that list we have people who have, this is the second time. I don't know if it's, I know it's the second time, it might have been more. So as to what's the length of time, when the recurrence, of these habits not attending, and when people do get a letter and then they said, hey, I'm interested, but then they never really come up, present themselves and said, hey, I'm experiencing this problem, I'm having this, because If people do that, then you don't have to waste time, to write letters. People are having problems, they have a life, they can call me or send an email to the board and say, hey, I'm experiencing so and so. They don't have to say what it is, but at least the board know, that they will be absent. So how long are we gonna keep, doing this every time that somebody get a letter and they say, hey, I want to be on the board, and then after a few months, then they start doing the same thing again?
Well, that's the reason why the motion is. Oh, sorry.
I have a question. Am I permitted to speak?
Sure. Let me just answer friends, and then absolutely, I recognize you next. Is that okay?
Okay.
Right. So with regards to that, and I agree with your point where it's like, this is not meant to be a merry-go-round, where it's like, you'll get a letter every 3 or 4 months and we'll let you go.
The question is on the vote that you're about to cast, the question that I have.
Oh, no, sure. And absolutely, I'll let you have that question as well. So I'll definitely recognize you before we have a vote.
Okay.
Okay. But just to finish that, so absolutely, this is not meant to be a merry-go-round where we're going to do this every 3 or 4 months. I think people generally deserve the benefit of the doubt, but obviously you don't get 2 or 3 doubts in a row. So I think, and that's the reason why we're saying we're tabling this in terms of effectively they're on probation. And if they continue to have behaviors and they're not showing up and they're not participating, we can pick it back up from the table and we continue on with the vote. So this is the option that the exec and the full board still maintains. And then the other practical aspect of it as well is, you know what, if you're going to miss half your meetings and continue to fall behind that, your life on the board is going to be short anyway. So we do have those options. Well, at least that's effectively that's what happens with regards to that. With the members I spoke with, and I hope that I'm very clear about this. This is never meant to be a punitive action, or we're not trying to be vindictive, or we're not trying to pull people off the board. We're trying to make sure people are accountable and coming to the board meetings. So we'll see. They've all been counseled with regards to that in terms of we need to make sure they're showing up, and if they're not, we'll have this conversation and we'll bring them back from the table and it'll go to the full board to proceed full steam. Ms. Williams, I'm sorry about that. If you had a question.
I could speak now?
Yes.
My question is, those members that letters were sent to, were they invited to come before the board? Or the letters was just sent telling them that if they are not coming to meeting that they would be removed? Were they invited to come to the board, to stand before the board, and did they refuse or did not respond?
Absolutely. We make sure we include that as part of the language. So the letters do say they have an opportunity to explain their circumstances both at the executive committee and before the full board. So they can come here or they can go before the full board and explain.
Oh, okay. And they
a number of them, once they got to this, well, those who did not, yeah, because I think it was a total of 11 letters. The names that I read is a much shorter list. So there are still some members who are going to be part of, there'll be conversations that happen next week, Tuesday.
Okay. And I have an appeal to make to the chair and to the board. Just listening to the past conversation with Ms. Vivian Morgan and the removal from the Parks Committee. In the light of doing community work and doing it for the good of the people and to serve everyone, and the fact that she has been there doing a very good job for a very long time, can we revisit this privately with her, or somehow that we can have some clarification of exactly what happened? Because as Alicia said, due process. And I know Tim Thomas was given more than due process before he was removed. So for one incident, I would suggest that we revisit this issue before you remove Vivian from the board. This is a request that I'm making on behalf of working together for the good of the community, and everybody works together. And this is what the board is about. The board is about working for the community and working so that everybody could have a clear understanding of why they're serving their community. So I'm making that appeal, and I hope that other board members would join with me to say, well, we need to at least revisit this and get to the, as I said, get to the bottom of what's going on and see how we can clarify this or clear this up. Because if the committee people are not complaining, I did not complain, then there's something there that maybe we can salvage to restore the communication between the chair, Ms. Morgan, and the board committees and the people. I think we need to do that. Does anyone agree with that?
Yes, at least let people know exactly.
No, I don't want you, no, Vivi, I don't want you to answer. I need committee members.
Ms. Williams, with all due respect, we're actually in the middle of a motion, so we need to complete this item before we move on to
So I could restate this after you finish this then.
after we finish this motion. Let's finish this business, then we can discuss.
No, I thought while we were I sorry if I'm out of order, then I apologize, but I would like to restate my appeal after you finish this.
Very well. You'll have an opportunity. We'll do that. Okay, so are there any other questions with regards to the motion on the floor?
I don't even remember what the motion on the floor was now.
To table the removals of the members I mentioned. So the name is Alejandro, you have the names of the members on the record, correct?
Yes, so the motion on the table is to remove the following names from being considered for removal. The initial motion was made by Francesca, seconded by Warren, and the names are Verlene Dozier, Melanie Lewis, Virginia Bechtold, Yakov Pearson, Linda Watson Lord.
Okay, thank you. So those five names? For those
Yes.
5 names. All right. Unless there are any questions. Well, unless there's anything else, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion to table, please say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Seeing none, are there any abstentions? Hearing none. The motion passes. All right, thank you very much with regards to that. Let me just see if there's any other action items with regards to, and I think that's all I have with regards to my chairman's report. Okay, so we've concluded the chairman's report. Let's go, we're gonna switch the order just a little bit. Let's go to the other business. Let's go to other business, and we'll come back and we'll set the agenda. Ms. Williams, go ahead. What's your point?
Yes, again, I'm repeating that after listening to the discussion as to Ms. Vivian Morgan being removed from her position as Parks Chair, and I listened to Alicia, which is always very clear, very right, and most of what she said, Alicia, I laud you for that. Everyone is entitled to due process. And since Tim Thomas was brought up, I know I was there. Tim got more than his chances with due process. And if this is the first incident with Ms. Morgan, and the board is still not clear as to what really happened, I think we need to revisit this and talk about it. Maybe we can have a private meeting or something about this, but I think we need to go back, because just to remove her because of one issue and still no one knows exactly what this issue is, then it could be something very trivial that could be handled without taking a drastic move. And of course, she has been very, very forthcoming in doing her work with the parks. I don't know if she fell back somewhere. I don't know what happened between she and Mr. Warren. But whatever it is, we have all have disagreement with someone or each other, a board member from time to time. So I don't see where it should be so detrimental that we cannot revisit this and let her have her position. if something like that happened again, once we go through this, then we know that this was at least she was given a second chance. Everyone is entitled to a second chance. And this is what I have to say. I don't want to say too much because then my breathing goes down. But I would like to hear if other board members agree with that.
With all due respect, Ms. Williams, I do want to point this out.
Excuse me?
And no, I said, with all due respect, I do want to point this out. I definitely look to the executive committee for advice. I definitely look for counsel. But then there are roles that we all have, and there are certain responsibilities that we all have as well. Within our bylaws, it is strictly invested within the chair to appoint and to dismiss committee chairs. The idea being that I've been entrusted with the ability, entrusted to make sure that I'm, putting out the best talent we have, the necessary skill sets, the people that I think can get this done. I have an agenda. We have an agenda that we're trying to run. This is not a decision that I ever come by lightly. This is not a spur of the moment. I didn't wake up on the wrong side of the bed and say, you know what, who am I going to get rid of today? This is something that was thought about, it was considered, and I stand by my decision that it's done. And per the bylaws do not offer something where it's like the board can override me on that. Strictly.
No, we're not speaking. Sorry for interrupting you, but I'm not speaking of overriding. We're talking about due process, and we're talking about giving someone who has been doing a job a second chance. We're talking about community. We're talking about the flavor and the atmosphere that this could create within the community board, because we have come a long way, and we are now actually moving into a better stance where we are. So if this is something that we can resolve without any ill feelings or misunderstanding, I think we should give it a chance. Is there any board member out there who think this is right? I haven't heard any. I know Debbie said what she had to say, which was exactly what that was, what I'm referring to. But I would like to know if there are any other board members, because it could happen to you, it could happen to someone else, and you would want due process. So therefore, put yourself in Vivian Morgan's space, put yourself in the chair space, and see where it could spread a bad impression or a bad light on the chair, and it could leave a very negative impression on the chair for the committee also, which is Ms. Morgan. And we don't want to do that. We would like to move forward in a more positive way.
I just think that not understanding what happened or not knowing what happened is a problem.
Exactly.
And
yes.
I mean, it could be somebody else. And,
yes.
If this is how business is conducted, I mean, this board is not for me. Being on this board is not for me. That's all I have to say.
If you're gonna hang someone, they have to know why they're being hanged, and the people around them should know why they're being hanged. This is why we have things happen.
And I don't necessarily agree with the people. Listen, and I'll say this, and I think for most of my chairs, I would hope that you would agree.
We hope.
Let me finish. Let me finish my point. I would hope we agree on this. I personally do not believe I am one of those people who is, again, I wake up on one side of the bed and I'm a totally different person the other day. 2, I believe that if I have conversations with my chairs, for the most part, my chairs are given autonomy in terms of operating, in terms of doing things, making decisions, and I do my best to support wherever I can. That goes to say in terms of
if they're going in your direction.
Ms. Morgan, please.
If they're going in your direction.
Ms. Morgan, please.
Because that really helps the case, exactly. So the point being, because I put that much in there, I need to make sure that there is a certain confidence, and I need to make sure that there's a certain way that the boards are getting run. And yeah, and it does fall to me to make sure that the board, the committees are being run in a certain way, certain things are being done, because the accountability does come to me, because I am the one who makes the appointments.
So without thinking or saying that the board is trying to override it, which is not the board, because I haven't heard many voices, is that meant that anything happen, we can't discuss it, we can't can't move forward with discussing things and try to see how we can right a wrong without making it bad?
Here's the thing, but it becomes a Pandora's box, because you know what, then if I start opening up every conversation I have with every chair, I think there's a certain confidence where there's certain conversations I have with chairs I have with them. If it's praise is public. If it's something corrective, I don't do it in public. If it's a
I'm going to ask you, Mr. Chair, I'm not being rude, but I'm going to ask you to think about it. Think about it and give it your best thought. And then we could, you could reach out to us and we could maybe talk about it. Just for the light of working in unity with the community, I would just ask if you could at least think about the questions and the requests that I made today.
Well, let me just say, I don't know exactly what went down either way. But I do feel that, let's just say, if I'm a chair and I'm not doing a proper thing, I would think that somebody would let me know in advance what they would like to see so that I could possibly do that. What's puzzling me, and this is what, see, we don't know what's going on, but what's out there, it looked like her and Warren had a disagreement, and it looks like she goes and he stays. Now, that may not be the truth, but that's what it looks like to the rest of us listening. And if that's the case, then two people need to go there. If that's what the case is. I don't know what the case is.
Right. I agree with that too. I agree with your statement.
And the reason why you believe that's the case is because that's the case they are making. And I said right off from the offset, well, and I'll say this right here. Warren Burke, and I'm calling his name, has nothing to do with my removing Vivia as chair. Period.
So can we really just sit down and talk? Can you at least give us that platform where we can talk and find out what is it that she has done so bad that she cannot get a second chance? I mean,
and again, the reason why I hesitate to do that is because it becomes a slippery slope in terms of then that's a conversation that I have to have in public, because obviously this is
no, we don't.
No, it's an open. Listen. First of all, let's say this: if we meet as an executive committee, it's a public meeting. First of all,
we don't want you to do it in public if you don't want to do it in public.
Well,
that's what I'm saying.
So that's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons why we couldn't do.
But with the board, with the board, we can meet and we can discuss it with Ms. Morgan there, not behind her. She would have to be there, and if Warren have to be there, Warren should be there too.
Yeah, okay, but again, listen, we keep dragging Warren into a conversation that has nothing to do with
I'm hearing, may I say something? Yeah. I'm hearing everything that's going on, and I would like to speak my mind. That I know, Mr. Chair, you have concern about whatever that you discuss with Ms. Morgan, and you don't want, that's for you because you don't want to put it out there. That is your feelings towards it. But hearing from her, it's like she don't mind whatever that was discussed being put out there. And in my better judgment, I don't want to overrule anything as the chair that you've said, but I would like to say that the executive, we don't need the full board. But you have people, because at the end of the day, as it was mentioned, we don't want it to look like you side with Warren or you side with this, because the first thing Vivian said is that she had some sort of dialogue with Warren, and afterwards, that's what, now rightfully as Pat said, when it goes out there, that is what people will hear. And that is what people will believe, right?
Exactly.
So as anything else, although you don't want, you had a conversation with Vivian in private, with Mia. But I think for the best interest of you and the board, that the executive should meet.
And the community.
And if you want us to be, you can go into public, how you call it? But
And we can't. And we can't.
executive
So that's the point, and we
session,
can't.
the executive
And we
should
can't.
meet her and hear whatever is said and whatever your issues were with her, and it's standing, and then me, I will stand with you based on what the facts are. If it's something that, as Ms. Williams says, that it is something that we could say, okay, you know what, but we will know, because at the end of the day, there are too many people saying it's hanging out there in the atmosphere. Nobody knows what happened, and that is what's gonna go around. You know what?
Yes.
I had a problem with the first vice chair, and I was sent out. Whatever it is, the main gist of it, we wouldn't know because you're holding it back. She don't care if it's put out there. And I'm asking and supporting what Ms. Williams says, that we should meet as an executive, not the full board, but because she's part of the executive board, that the executive board should meet and have a dialogue and put everything out there and hear what happened. That is my recommendation, and I think that's the best thing that we should do to clarify everything, because at the end of the day, it's going to be out there that Vivian was put out because of Warren. And we don't want that. We don't want that thing. So
that would leave a very damaging.
In all due respect, I think
yes.
the decision you made that decision as the chair, but I'm saying, please, if only we could meet as the executive board, let's meet and hear what's happening, what happened, and then we'll take it from there.
Yes.
I second that.
Who is it that second that?
Nicholas.
There's a
Not
motion.
a motion on the floor.
Okay.
Not a motion on the floor.
Oh, we still have a motion. Let's get to the motion.
Put the motion on the floor, people.
Put a motion on the floor, yes.
And the
Put a
problem is,
motion.
if the motion is out of order, you're
the
asking
motion
us
is
to
not
have
out
a meeting. It's to have a meeting with an executive session that you can't call. To have a meeting with an executive session that you can't have. The motion will be out of order.
So then can we just decide this as citizens that is concerned about our community and what is going to go out there? Because like I said, and like lady just said, this is going to leave a very negative impression, and people will say and think, and things will go there, and it's not going to look good for you. It will look good for Vivian. It will not look good for Warren. It will not look good for the board. And we are working on behalf of the board, the community. So if we can isolate or prevent something from going out there that is very negative, we have come a long way. And I think we should take that walk. We should take that walk. The board has been getting a very bad rap for the longest while, and so it's all there. And to see we're moving now in a better direction, and if something happens and we can avoid it getting into a negative platform, let's do that, please.
Thank you all for your comments. Duly noted. We are now going to move on in the agenda.
You're saying what? I didn't hear that.
We're going to move on in the agenda. We're going to.
You're not going to agree with us for that?
I can't.
No, but that's no, Mr. Mr. I think this is not something. If this is something very serious, then this sounds like this is something very serious. Then that means we are in a very dangerous position with being on this board or thinking we're serving the community. If this is only something that one person or two people can know before a final decision is made, then this sounds like something very serious, and it should be addressed. And I just hope that the board members feel the same way. This is going to cast a very negative light again on the board moving forward, because whatever it is, Alicia started, Doesn't matter how bad it is. Everybody from deserve a second chance, and due process is always the way to go about it. So please, Mr. Chair, I am appealing to you to just work with us and let this not be another negative stigma on the board. We need to move forward in a more positive way.
And there is no negative stigma on the board.
It will happen.
No,
It will happen.
Ms. Williams, I claim.
It will happen.
No, it won't. I claim responsibility for any actions that I have taken.
But what
So
about
if there is- listen.
people who don't know what happened and they go away with the wrong impression?
No, but the point is, the conversation and the reasons why are between myself
No,
and Ms.
this is
Williams.
not good.
Okay, well, but and I understand that, and I guess we'll have to agree to disagree on this.
So maybe we should put a letter together. The board should put a letter together to the board officially, to the chair, officially asking that this be done. Anybody agree with that? We can do a letter to the chair asking that this be done, because it seems to me that whatever happened, it's unfair to do this without other people knowing. If she's saying she don't know what happened, and she knows, but no one wants to bring it out, and now this is happening. This is not good. Because then it could happen again and again, and it could happen to anyone and everyone who holds a position as a committee member.
And Ms. Williams, if you truly believe that that is the direction this board is going, the same way I said there's a certain direction I needed to go, every board member will have the right coming up to make whatever decisions they would like to make in the best interest of what they see for the board.
We know you have the right, but we're asking you.
And I understand, but Ms. Williams,
In a human way,
And I understand,
to
and
be
Ms. Williams, and I hope you don't think that I approach this in any way that was inhuman.
Okay.
There is the truth somewhere.
No,
between
I am using that word because I feel I have been working with this community for a very long time. You probably wasn't born yet, but I've seen so much happen to this board, and there are people who have done things that have gotten due process that they did not even deserve it. So I'm saying this incident should not be that critical that we cannot revisit it and something comes out of it that is good.
And Ms. Williams, but I apologize, and I apologize. We can't continue going on with this. We do have to set the agenda. We need to complete that last.
And I made my plea, so I stop now because I don't want to keep the meeting going, but I hope that this will not stop right here.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. All right, so we're going to go back to the next item, the agenda for the meeting. So we are going to have, Alejandro, are you ready? We're going to have the call to order.
Yes.
We're going to have rules of order, code of conduct. We are going to have presentations. Khalid, do you know if there's any liquor licenses?
Hi, Fred. Yes, there are a couple of liquor licenses. Give me 1 second to pull those up. They reviewed approximately 4 SLA applicants for Thursday's public safety meeting. Give me 1 second to pull those up, please.
Okay. Well, listen, you can fill those in. As far as you can tell from there, did all of them receive affirmative votes from the committee?
Unfortunately, I was not present during that meeting on Thursday. I can find out from Mia really quickly to find out if they all received, recommendations from the committee to move forward. Give me 1 second to find that out.
Okay. All right. Well, while you're doing that, let's leave the placeholder for that. So the SLA license applications. Now, was there another presentation that we were looking at having? Sorry, transportation did say that they had unis that they wanted to give a presentation before the board. So they'll have 5 minutes to give a presentation. Let's see. So we have unis, we have, are there any other presentations scheduled? Okay.
Hello, Fred.
Seeing none. Yes.
Sorry, yes, I just got off the phone with Mia, and yes, all 4 applicants have moved forward with the Public Safety Committee.
Okay, so let's just leave that as an open. You'll give the names of those, and we'll make sure we distribute those out to the committee, to the board.
Will do.
So we'll let those go since they already got affirmative votes on the committee. Okay, so after that, then we'll have public commentary. Then we'll have acknowledgements. Then we are going to have, so after acknowledgements, then we're going to have roll call. We're going to go into business session. We will have roll call. We will have committee reports. We will have, Debbie, you're going to be giving your treasurer's report?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Okay, so treasurer's report. We are then going to have the chairman's report. Put as an item under the chairman's report, vote on DM. Okay, after that, we are going to have we have old business. We will have new business.
Excuse me, Fred, it's Warren. We have a vote that Carmen requested on sending a supporting letter for Omni.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so after chairman's report, change that to voting items. And then we make those bullets. So 1 on vote on district manager, 2 on or unis or whatever it is. The bicycle.
And what about ULUP's vote?
Say it again?
What about the ULUP's vote for 2186? The review of that bill, that vote.
Okay, so, all right, so let's go back. So do we want, okay, okay, this is the questions that I did have. So what is the timetable for, what is the city council doing and when? So next week they are having what?
City council not what, until April, I believe, right?
Okay, well, is it the full city council voting or is it going out of committee by April?
I'm not really sure.
Yeah, that's the thing, because I mean, it's a tight timetable and I want to make sure, obviously we have some resources. I would love to get city council, a representative from city council to come in.
Well, I know, well, I don't know, but I don't know what their position is at this point in terms of city council. I'm not really sure what their position is in terms of, on this particular bill. So I guess what are we going to do with this? Look into it or vote?
Yeah, because I mean, I personally am not convinced that we have all the information, because especially if it's something that's still fluid, it hasn't even come out of the committee yet in terms of is something final. I don't know what's coming out of what's done.
Lisa said something about she could do an overview or something. I know
But what I'm saying is, it's an overview on something that hasn't even come out of the committee yet. I mean, obviously we've seen a lot of it, but I'm not sure if we've seen everything.
Okay.
It did come out of the committee. There was a motion that came out of the committee. The motion was that they did not support the bill, and the other motion was that it should go in front of the general.
No. I mean from the city council, in terms of what the status of this current legislation is.
I just told you where it was at. They are having it at the committee on the 23rd of the government committee on the 23rd, and they're going to be voting on it. The full will be voting on it in April. It came out of the committee objected to it via a motion. And then another motion, they stated that they wanted to bring it to the full board for the full board to make a decision on it.
Okay, but this is where you're confusing me. You're saying what full board? Is it going for the city council?
No, I'm talking about for the community board. The community board should take.
Yeah, no, and I understand that, but what I'm saying is, so what I'm saying is, take a position on the legislation, yeah, but I'm not certain where it is in the committee.
The committee at the city council is going to the government officials committee on Tuesday, on the 23rd. And then from there, it's going to go to the city council. It comes out of committee, goes to the city council, the city council votes on it. And then they're supposed to, all the recommendations that they get from all the community boards into consideration when they make the final determination. That's what.
Right, but have they been here? Has there been a public hearing?
Yes, the hearing is next Tuesday. People can vote. I mean, people can attend that meeting. They can register for it. I will send out a mass email about it, I promise, so people can click, and then they can get onto it. There's also, we're doing a town hall meeting tomorrow on it. So if people want to attend a town hall meeting and hear more about the bill, if you don't want to do the reading, then just hear about the bill. And then there is a link that you can get to the hearing on Tuesday at 10 a.m. at the city council. So then you can speak, because that's the hearing that you can speak. You can say something at that hearing. And then it's going to go to the city council floor where you can't speak. You could just attend. So Tuesday is the last opportunity for the community to be able to speak, but then you still have 5 more days where you can submit a letter. And so if the community board on Tuesday votes against it, then they can submit that letter to the committee and let them know of the community board's position. Is that,
very well.
making myself clear?
No, I hear you. So let's do this. Let's add one presentation. So we'll add a presentation on the bill. We'll have to see. We'll dedicate a 5-minute presentation to give an overview on the bill.
And who's going to do the presentation?
We'll figure that out. I have to figure out what resources we have. So you have your resources, and I'll see if we can get somebody from City Council to come and speak on this with us.
Yeah, they'll do the fluff. Let's make sure that we have an opposing position, please, because we know that they're going to come with all of the fluff and the fluff and the fluff, because they've done this at other community boards.
And there'll be opportunities to ask questions, and the board can see where we stand from there, whether we're ready to take the position. So, but that'll be something that's done at the board.
Well, I do suggest that everyone come to the town hall meeting tomorrow. I'll put the link and everything in the chat.
All right. Well, it just allows me to finish this. So we'll have the vote on the council bill. That'll be item number 3, voting items.
Fred,
Okay.
what is the bill number?
Did you say it again?
What's the bill number?
2186.
So I just want to make sure that, because this has been broken up so many times, I keep losing track. For voting items, you have the vote on the DM, the unis, I don't know exactly what that is.
We'll get to the spelling, yeah.
Yeah, and then the SLA licenses for Gold Room, Emerson LC, 1114 Nostrand Cafe, Cage F Food Court. And also at the recommendation of the Housing Committee, which you haven't listed, is the resolution, which I can forward the exact language, condemning the closure of the Associated.
All right, so send that as well. All right, we can make that a voting item. Well, you know what? Let's. Are you going to do? Is there going to be a presentation on that?
On the Associated?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to yield the floor to some other activists who have been working far more on this than I have, but I'm also happy to talk about it.
Okay. Very well. All right. so we can add that. All right, so we'll leave that then. So SLA, okay. All right. So I have call to order, Robert's rule, I'm sorry. Call to order, code of conduct, presentations. We have the 4 SLA applications. We're gonna have UNIs. We're gonna have a presentation on City Council Bill 2186. And housing, you're gonna have your resolution, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna have public commentary. We're gonna have acknowledgements. We're gonna go to the business session. Roll call, committee reports, treasurer's report, chairman's report. Then we're going to go into voting items, which I have district manager, UNIs. I have housing resolution, City Council Bill 2186, and the 4 SLA application. Then we go on to old business, new business, and adjournment. Are there any other items that need to be added?
Fred, it's Warren. Are there any pending items on members to be dismissed, or has that been resolved?
Thank you. No, actually, we do have 4 members to be, 5 or 6 members. Yes, that's correct. So we have 5 or 6, oh gosh. We have 6 member dismissals. Now, let's be frank about this. This is a big agenda. This is a big agenda. I'm not sure how much of this we get through. So I will warn the executive committee. Some of these may need to get
If we can do voice votes on most of the resolutions that are not controversial, the voting shouldn't take as long. I think the voice votes on as much as we can.
Right, but there's going to be conversation on a number of these. I'm not sure what's going to happen with the district manager, how quickly that goes. UNIs is because it's something that's coming straight to us. So basically, we're working as a committee of the whole on UNIs, which is time-consuming to say the least. Let me see, 2186. I don't anticipate to be a quick conversation either. So even if we did the SLA applications very quickly, that's still a lot of time. Plus, we have 6 members who potentially may want to state their case, and I'm assuming that there's going to be some conversation with regards to this as well.
So why don't you postpone the members stuff? Because that's not immediate. They have another month. Maybe they'll turn around.
I would agree that if there's something that has to be jettisoned, I would give them another month, just because this would.
Well, the challenge becomes this. The challenge with that becomes this. And this goes to another thing we need to discuss with regards to the board in terms of attendance. Because those 6 members mean we lower our quorum by 3, which really enables us to have more meetings. Them remaining on them means that, guess what? Just by having 3 extra people on there makes it very likely we could possibly either not have quorum or lose quorum, which is part of the reason why it's important that we do some of that work.
We need to remove them. Remove them, because I'm tired of coming and nobody else is coming. Remove them.
Well,
they gotta
that's
go.
part of the reason why I think
It takes 2 minutes to do that. They gotta go.
Now, I would say this, while transportation did say they think UNIs should come to the board for a vote, honestly, I think that UNIs, unless there's some sense of urgency, that's probably when I would actually just say, let's stay postponed until March.
Fred, it's Warren. I was at the transportation meeting. There is no sense of urgency. This is something months in the future. And I think that Carmen would agree that we could take it up at the next meeting.
So let's postpone UNIs. Let's remove UNIs from the agenda for this month. They'll be postponed until next month. So that's one off. DM vote, 2186, SLA applications, and 6 members. Otherwise, business has to get done. I don't see how much else to take off. All right, I don't see how much more we get off. I just have to warn the exec. I just have to advise the exec and we'll have to make a notation to the full board. It's gonna be a full month. And honestly, it's probably gonna be a couple of full months coming up, so we're just gonna need to make sure that people are on there. Hopefully by at least getting that one piece of business done with the 6 members, either we're gonna get members coming or we're gonna get rid of, I don't wanna say it in this way. We're going to make sure at least that there's a commitment for those, that members are gonna be coming in, either because they're gonna commit to come or they're gonna be removed. All right, so with that being said, I will entertain a motion to accept the agenda, to adopt the agenda as written.
So made.
I have moved by Warren Burke. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Ms. Williams. Unless there's any other discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay. All those opposed? Any abstentions?
I think Francesca had to leave the meeting.
No, I did see her in the chat as well. So just note, Fran had to leave, so she's not present for the vote. Okay, so the motion is adopted, the agenda is adopted. All right, everyone. I
Okay,
wanna
just
thank
for,
you.
excuse me, Fred, just for attendance taking, we have Evelyn, we have myself, we have Debbie, we have Vivia, Alejandra, and Fred. And Francesca was here, but not here for the voting.
Okay, do you have that noted, Alejandra?
I'm sorry, I missed that. What?
No, do you have the attendance noted?
Yes, I have the attendance noted.
Okay, good. All right, everyone, I want to thank you for your time. Like I said, it's going to be a busy, so we just need to make sure we're staying focused and we're getting this work done. We have a lot of it that's going to be on our agenda over the next couple of months. I want to thank everyone and for all the committee chairs who are still with us. Just keep plugging away, keep working. Your work is indeed appreciated. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. That's the one to say. Okay.
Second. Second.
All right, moved by Alejandra and second by Warren. Is that you?
That's me, Primo.
Oh, Primo? Okay.
He can't
all those in
second. It's
favor?
not on.
Actually, yeah,
I
that's
know,
right.
it's all right, I already seconded it.
Okay, and a second by Warren. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. We stand adjourned. Time is now 9:13. Everyone, thank you very much. Have a good evening. Stay well, stay safe.